I would like to reach out and inquire about the parental concerns I am seeing and hearing on social media, as well as the rumblings around the school, so that I can get a better understanding of how the school, particularly the board of directors, plans to address them. Number one is dress code. There is an online petition in which almost 400 people have signed around the dress code. I did not start the petition, but I did sign it. I am interested to know how many surveys were returned versus this petition, as the recent communication was that this was a parent-driven decision. There has been and continues to be heavy parental communication regarding the dissatisfaction of the new dress code. Is it really a reflection of the student body and parental body's request, given the current outrage that I am seeing both online and within text and emails among students and parents? I am one of the parents that completed the survey, but the intent around me stating the dress code should be tightened wasn't so the new dress code would be directed at young females, but rather that there was fair policing of the dress code at the school. Why is there such a direct correlation between the changes in the dress code and teenage female standard attire? I would urge the board to review the change on this and the dissatisfaction of those that are impacted to determine if this is really the route best taken, or if perhaps there should instead be less of a direct impact to young females and more accountability within the teachers and administrators to enforce a standard of dress that is not impacting the learning community. If the intent is to have less responsibility passed to teachers and administration, making that clear to parents would be beneficial. Additionally, teachers are allowed to wear leggings, from what I understand, but would like confirmation. If the aim of the change is for a less distracting learning environment, why would this be allowed? Can this be addressed publicly for parents to further understand? Communication. This sentence was added to the recent communication regarding dress code clarification. While we are happy to answer any questions you may have, please know that social media is not the way to communicate with us. Any questions should be directed to Clover Garden School Administration via email or telephone. I have personally emailed without response, and per CGS's social media, I am certainly not the only one. Why is the parent body being directed to contact administration when there is such a lack of response? I count 29 people in the last week that online state they have written to administration in email without response. Has the board taken the time to review dissatisfaction on the social media regarding CGS's communication? How can this many parents be so unsatisfied with the administration?
Time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have another one from Sarah Campbell. Already. I, like many other parents, were shocked to receive notice that a dress code change 11 days prior to the start of a new school year. The actual dress code requirement is not an issue for me. However, I will speak briefly on in the next section. The main issue I have is the late communication. Regardless if there had been talk of this before, the final notice was less than 30 days. This is also not the first time I felt we have had communication issues between parents and the school. In the past, when trying to contact my children's teacher, I have had so many issues with the teachers and administration not receiving my email, or that's what I'm being told. Some teachers get my emails just fine, but others say emails go to their spam folder. I even asked which email account would work best with Clover Garden system, and they said Gmail. So I started using my Gmail account, and that made no change. I gave suggestions of apps we could use like Talking Points, Remind, and even Class Dojo. I even tried to communicate through Canvas, and that didn't seem to work well either. There are so many different ways to communicate, and that's part of the problem. There needs to be one single form of communication used by all, and there needs to be a certain response time put in place that is acceptable on both sides. And if you know there is an issue with several parents' emails going to your spam folder, then what do you think you should do? Maybe check your spam folder more often. I'm sorry, but communication is the most important aspect, because with timely and informative messages, so many issues can be fixed before they even become an issue. It's even hard to call the school and get directly to talk to who you want. I feel I've tried everything and none have been acceptable. And I know you all can do better. Clover Garden has such potential to do better. A personal example was last year when I tried to meet with one of my child's teachers regarding the 504 plan. I made it clear I wanted to meet with the teachers and not just the 504 coordinator. We had to reschedule the meeting several times to make all schedules work. My husband took off work and was in attendance. I wanted the teachers to hear from me, who has the same disability, what to expect of my child. I wanted them to understand him better. I wanted to help them and help my child. I felt it would be very helpful and short conversation. Well, my husband and I show up to the meeting and none of the teachers or administrators were there. Nobody showed up except the 504 coordinator, who is an excellent individual and communicator, but nobody cared. I felt so sad. I immediately wanted to reschedule so that I could talk to all of them. All I wanted was a little conversation. We did reschedule, but my husband couldn't take off again. And this also was just putting more time behind us when I wanted my child to be helped in advance. At the second meeting, all the teachers still did not show up, only a few. And I never,
Thank you.
thank you. And finally, Miss Brittany Cobb. Is there a process to vote out admin staff? If so, how does a parent go about doing so? That's it.
And do we have anybody signed up for public comment? Thank you. And it takes us to academics, principals update. Dr. Morris, yes, please.
Great update for principals.
Yep.
These amazing ladies have worked incredibly hard, starting off the school year. So we have some things that we're focusing on, especially, and gentlemen, part of the administrative team. But just trying to, one, make sure we're getting schedules taken care of for all of our students, definitely moving the shake and steel with the schedule and making changes that are necessary. Definitely filling some vacancies. We are definitely chipping away at that and, doing really well with that, with filling our vacancies, and just honestly getting back in the groove of being back at school, routines, procedures, things like that. So we're very excited about the school year, and these lovely ladies and gentlemen will have something to present to you at the next meeting. We plan to continue what we did last year, where they're bringing in guests and things like that from in and around the building, so you guys can meet some of our teachers, as well as our students. So definitely want to kudos to them and all the hard work they have done and put into a successful start to this school year. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berrigan. High school art and Spanish elective category weight.
Yes, currently in our student parent handbook, we have it broken down by subject level of what our grading percentages look like in class. After speaking with our Spanish teacher who could not be here tonight, she is also our volleyball coach and they're at their first game. They expressed concern because with art and Miss Minor, she is our art teacher and she's going to explain on her own kind of what changes would support a better view of how the students are progressing in art. And I will represent Miss Dolly High of why she is requesting a change to the grading scale to be more reflective of what the students are actually producing. So Ms. Minor.
Okay. So right now the current breakdown for our art class is 35% for projects, 35% participation, 15% quizzes, 15% homework. Well, my class is project based. So you're mainly doing projects. We spend about 2 weeks per project. We'll spend a couple days on the front end doing any kind of like supplemental work, learning how to do shading or value or whatever the case may be. And then I introduce projects and then they spend the rest of those 2 weeks working on just that project. Well, with the current breakdown, it doesn't reflect what we're doing. Participation is 35%. That's not really something I can grade daily students. It is built into my rubric. It's 25%. We call it presentation. Is it neat, complete, and on time? So did you spend all the time you were supposed to? Did you turn it in when you were supposed to? Is it the way that it's supposed to be done? So it's at 25% or 25 points of the grade. So what I am proposing or asking is to do more of like a 60-40. So it would be 60% for projects and then 40% for dailies. Dailies would include I don't give homework. I've learned that when projects go home, accidents happen. Little sisters spill things on them, or it gets caught in the rain, or it gets left on the school bus, or whatever the case may be. So I don't send projects home just because sometimes they don't make them back in the same condition, or they don't have the supplies that they need. Quizzes are very, very rare. We do like, daily grades that will support that, but I don't really do quizzes. So like I said, so I'm asking more of a 60-40 breakdown, and all those dailies would be all of those singular grades, whereas 60% would be projects, because that's what we mainly focus on. That's the main thing, is just that there's not a real way for me to be able to say, okay, for homework, I'm giving you this, I'm giving you this, I'm giving you this, if it's not actual homework. And so that's to say, so I'm just asking for more of an equitable split that more matches what we're doing in class.
And along the same lines with Spanish, Spanish is mandatory graduation requirement for our students. And so it's seen more as an academic course. With the way the current grading scale is, like Ms. Minor explained, you have 35% TEDs and projects, 35% participation, 15% quizzes, and 15% homework. The current grading scale of 35% participation will give a skewed view of their actual ability. This is important because we're hoping to build our Spanish program that will offer students the opportunity to take honor level Spanish, or potentially an AP option in a few years. This change in the grading scale will help our high flyers be more competitive in their GPA and getting into those big universities with honors options. But we need more an academic grading scale than an elective grading scale to make this high quality program as it is. She is requesting that the grading scale for ELA be implemented for Spanish. That would be the tests and projects of 40%, classwork and quizzes of 30%, discussion participation 15%, homework 15%, and then a timed writing sample of 30% for our AP courses.
Anything else? Any questions on how that will be, how it will work? This is effective for this year, school year.
Yes, we would like this effective this 9 weeks, and the timing of this allows us to get this changed and for it to be reflected on our upcoming progress reports that go on to parents of the 23rd of August.
Okay, if there are no questions, do I have a motion to approve the high school art and Spanish elective category weights? Mr. Young, second. Ms. Russell, all in favor? Okay. ACC CCP eligibility requirements, Ms. Ferre, oh no, Ms. Dr. Morris, sorry.
So as we've been reviewing things, with our current college career promise students, which are typically our juniors and seniors, that is when they choose that dual enrollment pathway. And the way the policy is currently written, it aligns with our NCHSAA guidelines, as well as what our overguarding guidelines are. It's more broken into specific number of courses have to be passed in order for them to maintain eligibility. What we have recently discovered with this is for our students who are CCP enrolled students, our first progress report is on August the 23rd. They don't start class until August the 19th. There's a drop add period at ACC, which impacts the number of courses that they are enrolled in and participating in. And so when you look at athletic eligibility, especially during the semester transitions, some of our athletes may not be eligible to participate if they are not showing a full 6 for juniors classes that they have to take, or 4 for seniors. And that's why we're asking for the revision to state, we'll continue. Students who are enrolled in a career and college promise program must pass 70% of those courses taken through the program. A little history of what this can look like. ACC recommends for our juniors who are entering into that CCP program to take 4 classes their first semester, along with a 1 credit course called ACA, which is kind of like the intro to college. So they're only allowed to take 4 courses, which enables them to enroll in an elective on our campus, an in-person class on our campus that they need for a graduation requirement, or an online NCBPS course. Because there are so many scheduling changes going on during this time, our students are challenged with making sure that they have the requirements as our season has already started. Soccer started yesterday, volleyball started today, and we're still adjusting schedules. And so some of our student athletes don't meet the course requirement at this point because we're waiting to see what ACC will add them to or what we need to add them to on campus. So that's why we're asking for the clarification for students who are enrolled in the College and Career Promise Program, have 70% of their courses taken through that program while we get them started in their classes on the 19th of August. They'll receive credit and grades if they're taking something through us, you know, on campus, but even NCBPS didn't start until yesterday. So their grades are not going to be reflective of all the courses that they are enrolled in. That's where that specific 5 out of 6 or, you know, 3 out of 4 comes into a challenge for our student athletes.
Any questions? Questions?
What's the proposed change?
Yeah, what is the proposed change? What do you?
The proposed change, right now, it just states the number of classes that a student has to be enrolled in and passing, and we want to put in a statement for those who are enrolled in that CCP ACC pathway to have that 70%, because right now, some of them only have 1 in-person class and the other ones haven't started, and our first grade check is coming up within the next week. And so that's why we are asking for the amendment to include that part where it says College Career Promise Program. They'll have 70% of whatever they're enrolled in at that time.
By 70%, do you mean the grade, like average of the classes they're taking at that time is 70%?
It's 70% of the courses that they're currently taking.
Okay.
They still have to have a C or better average.
Got it.
But right now, we have some kids that are only enrolled in one class that started.
Yep.
So that's skewed with the numbers that are currently in policy.
Any questions? Okay, if no further questions, do I have a motion to approve the ACC CCP eligibility requirement for athletics change? Ms. Gould, second, Ms. Merle, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, our next item is the Parents Guide, for Student Achievement, Senate Bill 49.
So that is me. So in your work folder, you will see, kind of like a rough draft in there. There's a couple of highlighted areas, in which I'm waiting just a couple of documents, and they got those back to me, so I just need to upload those links. So basically, as part of Senate Bill, 49, parents' right to know. So kind of what they did was, they put a requirement in there, and we actually have to submit this link to this document to the state. And basically making sure that all public school units have a parent's guide to student achievement so that all of our families are well aware and in the know of what requirements their students must have in order to be promoted to the next grade level. How do I ask questions? How do I get involved? And so what it did was it kind of put all of those requests in one place. And so that's what this is. And this is about, it was around 23 pages for your reading enjoyment there. But this is, like I said, kind of breakdown, you know, how can my child be promoted to the next grade level? Other things it asks about is about like our programming in general, like what do we offer? What are how do our students who are advanced, you know, AIG status, you know, what do we do for those kids? Things like that. You know, it also gives some links to parents for resources at home. You know, I want to reinforce, I want to do things that the school's doing, but I want to assist my child not to do that. So this whole document kind of puts all of these things in perspective. This was a template that was shared with us from the state. And so a lot of the traditional public schools, things like that, do kind of mimic the same template. The only thing that I would ask, if there's other things that you want us to add to this, we'd be more than happy to do that. This is something that we do have to submit, like I said, to the state in September. But it's a great resource, I think, for our families, because it's kind of like an FAQ in a way, all in one area. So, you know, how can I learn about my students' progress? You know, I can't tell you how many times we've had folks that are like, what's a Canvas Observer account? What's a parent portal? Like, what is that? So there are still families that don't quite understand or are aware of how you can monitor your students' progress. So that's kind of part of this. What qualifications do my child's teachers have? That goes to the, parents like to know either. So it gives a little information about charter schools, it gives a little bit of information about, teacher, licensure requirements, what immunizations does my child need? So this document, like I said, is kind of, it's very thorough. But it does kind of put everything in one place. There are a couple of areas that I want to add in, like our local AIG plan, curriculum resources, as well as some additional links for our families at home. So those are a couple of things that I'm still going to add to this. But this would be a great way for us to go ahead and get this out to our families. And then in my mind, in my eyes, I see this as a working document. So when we get feedback from families and parents, and again, as we collect throughout the year, what are those frequently asked questions that parents have, or what is something that, we take under the assumption that they know that already, but they really don't, so those are some things, just in communication in general. How does the school communicate? Where can I go to begin to know? Like, those are all things that are kind of encompassed within this parents guidance. So this is kind of, like I think the way I see it is, okay, this is great, we can start with this, and when we get out the year, we can always add to it. So, and I don't know if this is gonna be maybe an annual thing, because it does kind of move and shape and change. Like, what we're using for curriculum this year may not be what we use next year. So in my mind, this will be something that we will probably revise every year, kind of like we do with handbooks.
Questions? No questions? Okay. I have a motion to approve Parents Guide for Student Achievement for Senate Bill 49. Ms. Lang, second. Ms. Foster, all in favor? Thank you. Update, Ms. Farakin, on our charter school renewal that's coming up in 2026.
Okay. Let me start that.
Gonna be here before you know it.
So said it on a webinar last week, so we are up for our charter school renewal in 2026. So this is a 2-year process, which I'm really grateful that it is a 2-year process, because you've got to collect and present a lot of information. And so it was really good, like the webinar the other day, because they already started sending us stuff, and like we have to do this massive self-study, which I will leave on you guys, I'll leave on the families, our students, our teachers, because it all talks about feedback, and it's all about our charter. So this is a big deal. This is for our charter renewal. And so but it is, it's for our renewals. There's a lot that goes into this to make sure that, one, that we can continue to operate. So our last charter school renewal was a 10-year renewal. So that is our game and our goal and our game plan for the next go round. We are hoping to get another 10-year renewal. So they look at academics, they look at finances, they look at the whole game. They look at your school in general, they look at if you're in compliance, if you have compliance issues. So a lot of those things can be held against you when you're trying to get a renewal. So anyway, so there's kind of a tiered approach to the renewals, 10, 7, 5, 3, how many years they will grant you. So we are hoping to get another 10. But there is a lot to it. It is a massive undertaking. And it's, again, the Office of Charter Schools is very, very, very helpful in providing guidance in this. So it's scary and terrifying, but also, it's exciting on one hand, because it's a chance to really show what we do and what we're about and why our charter should exist and continue to exist, So, so what I put in your document today was just the timeline so that you can kind of see what we're working with. We are going to continue to keep this as a line, or as a bullet point on every agenda, pretty much from now until 2026. So that I can give you guys updates at each meeting. I don't have anything major, then we'll just say, skip that, for that evening. But, again, this is where we're at right now. Take a look at that little screenshot I put in there. We are in year 1 right now. So right now we are working on our self-study, which is a document that talks about our school goals and where we see ourselves in 5 years and things like that. So we're working on the self-study that's due in November. And then they are getting ready to start conducting some site visits. And so that will be comprised of coming to visit the boards. So the board members, they try to schedule those well in advance so that you guys have an opportunity to be there. But it's almost like an interview with the panel type of thing. So they'll be interviewing the board, they'll be interviewing some of our families, our parents, They'll be interviewing some of the teachers and staff, and of course the admin staff. So that's coming. When they go ahead and get that started and they start doing those site visits, they'll schedule for the spring. So right now it's like the paperwork part. We're submitting the renewal. Yes, we want to be, you guys did that for us last month. Yes, we still need more opportunity to be renewed. So we submitted that letter. There's like a renewal fee, and then there's like a self-study, then there's site visits. So that's kind of like this year, kind of summer. Then next year, they'll start again, they'll start creating a portfolio for us. And so when they do these site visits, they will kick back and give us some feedback and say, look, you know, she gave an example of a webinar. When was the last time you updated your board bylaws? Okay, some folks, it had been years, they've been since the last renewal. And so she said that would be an example where I would say, you need to get those. You know, you need to update them, make sure they're up to date. So they're preparing you for your presentation to the board, State Board of Education. So that's what all of this prep work is for over the next 2 years. We'll create a portfolio from like July to October next year. They will come in and start getting us prepared for renewal discussions with the Charter School Review Board. And then presentations, there's actually a separate presentation just for business, the business piece of what we do. And then fingers crossed, everything goes well. April to May of 2026, we will receive our letter and our charter agreement for the next 10 years. So this is just kind of an update on what you guys kind of have an overview of what's going to be happening. We're going to have guests in the building. We're going to have charter leaders from around the school. We're going to have also charter schools in and out. So the whole purpose is not a I gotcha, but the purpose is to say, hey, this is what you're doing well at. This is what you're not doing well at. Let's tighten it up before you have to give your presentations. Ultimately, they create a portfolio and then present on behalf of the school to the Charter School Review Board for our review. So that's kind of what we're looking at over the next 2 years.
Great. Any questions? Okay, thank you for that update. I've got a couple of good webinars out there too that I think are helpful. I was on one last Thursday that was insightful. I'm glad that we keep up with some of that. Okay. Committee updates. Governance? Ms. Merrill? Nothing for today, okay. Ms. Lane, Finance.
We do have a finance committee meeting. It's gonna be held virtually on Thursday.
Great, thank you. Academics, Ms. Foster?
This time.
Mr. Huffines had no submissions for long-range planning. Fundraising,
I'm hoping to do a meeting, in the coming month to start setting our goals and our, ideas.
good, great, thank you. New business, safety plan, Ms. Farakin.
I would just table that for the next meeting. We have some professional development, training with all the staff tomorrow. So that would kind of be a monthly process of updates and things like that. We're updating our crisis response plan and things like that. So I would just keep that on there, but just table that until we're finished with an actual document. And then we'll use it that way.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Simmons, flexible spending plan proposal?
Yes, so in the Google Drive, I put in there for y'all review and approval. One of the biggest feedbacks or requests from our staff and employees over the last couple of years is to offer a flexible spending plan. And so I've done got some quotes and some different types. And so the one that I would like for y'all to approve is in there. It is a cost, it's $395 per employee per month, which would be about $4,100 annual fee. That is like an administrative fee and all that we have to pay. But that would be of no cost to the teacher or staff. You know, that would be ours. So I just ask for your approval for that, and so that we can, because it's like a 75-day timeline of implementation. So I'd like to get the approval or ask for the approval, and then hopefully that's something we can implement like between now and the end of this calendar year, so where they could maybe come back for.
We'll start in the new year.
Yes.
Okay.
Could you say that cost one more time?
So
How much again?
it was $395 per employee. We based off of 65 employees, full-time employees. And that is $256 a month. So annually it's probably 100.
Okay.
Would be one, an annual.
And is that a requirement full-time only?
Yes, it's only offered to our full.
Okay.
And do you pay per, person that is doing it, or just every single employee?
It's just it's a lump sum.
Okay.
That I know of. I have another call with them, but they have a minimum of $110. So it may be by a person that signs up, but
So
my
employees
knowledge,
have an
it was
option,
based off the 65.
they have an option to do it?
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah, flexible spending is an option, absolutely. It's just an added benefit.
Has everyone had a chance to review that? Are you prepared to vote? Do I have a motion to approve the flexible spending plan proposal? Ms. Lane, second. Ms. Gould, all in favor? Ms. Simmons, health and kitchen inspections?
So I have just a few that I put in there, but I just want to go over them real quickly, and I'll kind of try to do them in chronological order. One of them is for your viewing for, actually it was last year, May, but for record, was our final inspection, in cafeteria here was a 99. But that's in there, like I said, that's for record. But going into this year, we've not had our health inspection yet. It's on the schedule. I'm sure at some point in the next 30 days. However, we've had a building inspection through the health department, and that's in there. But everything that was mentioned has been addressed. It's only a couple items that's in there that were just normal maintenance items. But that was done here at the K8 campus. We also have our biannual pressure vessel, so the pressure vessel inspection. Department of Labor, they do that every 2 years. So we got that permit again for the next 2 years, and it's in there and it passed inspection in May of this past year, sorry. And then lastly, the most current one is the high school. We got our permit for the high school kitchen. The health inspections will come later, but we are now permitted to serve hot food out of the kitchen in the high school. So all that's for record. And if y'all have any questions after review, please let me know.
Any questions on those items? Okay, any other items for open session?
It's not really an item mentioned, but I didn't want to take a moment to just separate, because you get, not necessarily our admin staff, and I just want to give an opportunity. This lovely lady right here to my left, this is Miss Glad. She is our high school, assistant principal, so she has been running all around and doing all kinds of amazing things at the high school. We're very blessed to have her as part of our team. And then this is Mr. K. He is our amazing dean of students here on our KA campus. And he has been a very busy fella ever since he started. I think I hear his name across the walkie, I don't know, 25 times a day. Trying to down and find him, but he's doing amazing things as well. So I'm really excited to have these folks, and I want to put a face with the name, as part of the administrative staff.
Great, welcome. Glad you're here. Okay. If we don't have any further items, then we can go ahead and do I have a motion to move into closed session under General Statute 143-18.11A 1 and 5? Ms. Foster, second. Ms. Murrell, all in favor? Please note, we've moved into closed session at 7:15 PM.